Hey everyone, before we start this episode, I'm here to let you know that this episode has content that isn't made for general audiences. We'll censor our swear words, so you won't hear us when we say or but this is a program made by and for college students. So if there's anyone in the back seat, you might want to save this episode for later. Welcome back to Rowdy Radio. We're not late, you're late. This week we have the return of our usual segments, as well as some new stuff. We've got the usual What She Said and Quin Listens, followed by some student perspectives about this year's Rocky Horror. Taylor gives us another chapter from Old Charm City, and Olivia and Mia learn about coconut crabs. There's a preview for the upcoming Let's Talk About Sex event, and another Goucher history segment. We'll finish the program with some upcoming events.
With the daylight savings change, it's not just your morning routine that has been disturbed. The shorter daylight hours means a hormonal change in the deer here. They're all, aroused. The large male deer especially. This is important to know if you're traversing the campus alone, as reports of deer attacks have already started. Although I must ask, why would anyone be traversing the campus in such frigid conditions? It's cold enough to freeze a witch's off. But we live in an urban forest, so the closest thing we have to witches here are the older lesbians that come and walk their dogs in the morning. Goucher cannot seem to decide on an internal temperature of any of its buildings. Some are too hot, some are too cold, some are fine but moldy. But no matter what, people are complaining about it, as they should be. They can't ignore us all if we all complain. Please complain. It's 92 degrees in my room right now. As a freshman, I've been trying to build lifelong connections with the people here, which was difficult at first, not knowing how much of myself to share. But after a couple long conversations with my peers and seeing both Rocky Horror and the Christian Doomsday Cult were held on the same day, I've come to the conclusion that I have nothing to worry about. Everyone here is severely gay and traumatized. The next ad campaign for Goucher should be a collaboration with Wattpad that highlights the creative writing programs and the fact that we are completely surrounded by a wall of forest chock full of deer going through a whole new kind of seasonal depression, the rut. We could be dominating a whole hashtag on Tumblr, like the alpha. And the gophers are the betas. Don't forget to take your vitamin D today. And that is what she said.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Quin Listens. If you joined me for the last edition, you'll remember listening to some sweet love songs. This week, we're following those up with heartbreak. I've tried to compile a playlist that sees heartbreak from many angles. We have sadness, anger, shock, bargaining. We've got it all. If you're going through a breakup, I see you. I hope these songs resonate with you. So, let's begin with Give Me One Reason by Tracy Chapman. Tracy Chapman is a skilled songwriter. You probably know her hit Fast Car. Give Me One Reason came out in 1995, 8 years later than Fast Car. Give Me One Reason is more poppy and relies less on narrative. The funky bass lines and fed-up delivery make this near-breakup song extraordinarily catchy. Chapman wants to make it work, but she is done with doing all of the work.
You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I got your number. Oh, and I know that you got mine.
But perhaps you're not the person fed up. Perhaps you're holding someone too tight and you're not ready to let go. If that's the case, I recommend Break It To Me Gently by Brenda Lee. Brenda Lee is one of my all-time favorite vocalists. Her voice breaks and cracks in all of the right moments, but when she sings, her voice is so grand and so smooth. This voice makes Break It To Me Gently a particularly heartbreaking song. Brenda Lee begs her love to soften the blow by staying just a little longer. It hurts watching the one you love leave. Brenda tries to fight that pain with this song.
Take it gradually. Break it to me gently.
In that same vein is Oh My Lover by PJ Harvey. PJ Harvey throatily attempts to persuade her lover to stay. She lays it on thick, promising everything she can give between terms of endearment. The heavy guitar on this track elicits someone crawling and grasping for whatever is left. PJ Harvey's habit of raw lyricism and matching raw vocals works well on Oh My Lover. This song is painful and desperate.
Oh, my sweet thing, don't you know it's alright, so alright.
But being the one to leave hurts too. Didn't Want to Have to Do It by Cass Elliot speaks to this pain. Mama Cass slowly and softly sings about the pain of ending something that was once good. She confronts the sorrow of breaking a heart over a dreary backing. The song is rainy and cold and very sad.
No, I didn't want to have to be the one to say the end, the end, the end.
Next is It's Too Late by Carole King. This is the quintessential breakup song to me. It hurts to decide that it's over, but as King sings, there can be no denying. Over a misleadingly upbeat melody, King accepts the end of her relationship. I love this song for its universality. It's about you and your breakup, but you can play it for your friend, and it will be about their breakup too.
We really did try to make it. Something inside has died, and I can't hide, and I just can't fake it. Oh, no.
Next is Drive by The Cars. If you've ever lost your passenger princess, this song will speak to you. Losing the one that you poured your love and effort into hurts. Suddenly, that responsibility of care is gone. Suddenly, you drive alone. I love how synth fills this song. It's staticky but smooth and evokes the empty overwhelm of such a loss. Rick Ocasek keeps his voice restrained, nearly at a loss.
Nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
Frank Sinatra was a crooner, but he was also so emo. In 1959, he released No One Cares, with songs like I'll Never Smile Again and I Don't Stand a Ghost of a Chance with You. 2 years prior, he released Where Are You, which was similarly miserable. Tracks like I'm a Fool to Want You are heartbreaking enough. But I want to talk about Baby Won't You Please Come Home. He begs and pleads for his baby in a sorrowful tone. The string accompaniment just kicks the misery all the way up.
Every hour in the day, you will hear me say, baby.
Olivia, you should talk about your song that you mentioned.
Right now?
Yeah. Prior to recording, Olivia sent me a message to include a specific Frank Sinatra song without knowing that I was planning on including one. I want her to tell me a little bit about the song. So tell me about your recommendation.
My song is The World We Knew Over and Over, which was from Frank Sinatra's later years. Any Sinatra fan knows that the first half of his career is where he goes, oh my gosh, I'm a pop star, isn't things great? And then the second half is him going, oh my god, I'm dying. But The World We Knew Over and Over is sort of one reminiscing about a past relationship that is no more.
Over and over, I keep going over the world we knew. Days when you used to love me.
Like, Frank Sinatra was, at his time, sort of a, you know, the way that people, like, fangirl over, like, pop stars today, like Jonas
He was
Brothers?
like, he's an it boy.
Yeah.
He had the X Factor.
Yeah, like, people were obsessed with him.
Yeah, he's a babe.
He was, like, considered, like, really hot.
Yeah, he's a babe.
Not wrong. I mean, he's dead now, so I don't know if I
R.I.P.
can say that.
No, I don't think that's wrong. It's not like you're like, he's so babely right now in the grave. Back in the day. Yeah. Okay, thank you for that lovely recommendation, Olivia.
I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got if not himself?
Last edition, we talked about Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones as my all-time favorite love song. We Had It All by the Rolling Stones works in similar ways. Through simple images, the band creates a feeling of nostalgia and lost affection that really hurts.
Were the best thing in my life I can recall. You and me, we had it all.
Next, I want to talk about How Could You Let Me Go by Vashti Bunyan and Devendra Banhart. Through tender, fragile vocals, these two artists sit in heartbroken confusion. Vashti Bunyan was a little-known folk singer in the 70s. She recently received her deserved acclaim after a 3-decade hiatus. This song was released in 2023, but maintains Bunyan's consistent, soft, and soothing tone.
My angel on earth, you know. How could you let me go?
Speaking of 70s folk singers, let's hear A Case of You by Joni Mitchell. Mitchell articulates knowing another so well, knowing exactly where it goes wrong, and wanting it anyway. She reflects on herself and her love with haunting and evocative images. She keeps her backing simple with guitar and lets her voice shine.
Holy wine, you're so bitter, bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you.
Next is Oh Well by Fiona Apple. Oh Well is off Extraordinary Machine, a tumultuous recording that ended with, in my opinion, her best work. Oh Well is an angry reclamation of independence after a painful love and a painful loss. She recounts what she thought she knew and tries to reconcile with how it ended. Fiona Apple is witty and astute, which means her breakup songs are especially strong. She therapizes and empowers me every time I listen. Her voice and music are interesting and skillful, but her songwriting makes her an unprecedented talent.
What wasted unconditional love on somebody who doesn't believe in the stuff.
I want to end with You're the One by Kate Bush. This is not only my favorite breakup song, but one of my favorite songs ever. Kate Bush's haunting voice takes a snapshot that ends up feeling totally universal. She's ready to go, but not ready to let go. This song is off of The Red Shoes, one of her later albums. She ends the record with this song, and I find that it concludes everything beautifully. As she sings for her sugar, the song fades out in an enduring wail. Okay, that's all the heartbreak that I'll subject you to today. Thank you for joining me. You can find all the songs we heard today on Spotify and Apple Music on a playlist titled Quin Listens For Heartbreak.
Alright everyone, up next we're going to step out of the studio and into the line at Rocky when we listen to these interviews from the students who were waiting to get into Saturday's show just 2 weeks ago. We'll talk about everyone's Rocky outfits, and we'll also get some student opinion about the show being moved into the Black Box Theater over in Meyerhoff. What are you wearing?
I am dressed up as Where's Waldo with 3 of my friends.
Yeah, I'm also dressed up as Where's Waldo.
Is this your first night at Rocky? Not ever, before this production?
This production? Yeah. Yes, first night.
Yep, me too.
Really serious interview, guys. Yeah.
Yes.
We're killing it. Well, should I bring up the point that we are Where's Waldo, but we're all having our out as much as possible? Like, I don't know what the mood is.
How is it with...
the Where's Waldos don't have to be out, so...
Okay, so obviously we've moved locations. Again, I feel ridiculous. Wait, hold on. For my audience, could you please describe who's interviewing you right now?
Okay. Oh, yeah. I have a friend who could explain very well. Hi, it's me, the executive producer of Goucher Radio. The program director of Goucher Radio is wearing, what appears to be, what, sparkly bikini?
Yes.
A sparkly metallic bikini and a trench coat.
And
The straps are all clear.
The straps are transparent.
Oh, and don't forget the press pass.
Yeah, and
the press pass.
And the Doc Martens.
and the dogs.
Oh, wait, hold on. What are you wearing?
I'm part of the Where's Waldo crew.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out for Waldo. That's
It's out for Waldo.
That's the movement. Out for Waldo 2026. That's
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
Could all of you tell me, what you're wearing?
Yeah, I'm wearing a little black top that kind of shows off my boobs and a very short skirt and a pair of fishnets.
I'm wearing a black skull button down with a corset and a striped pencil shirt with some 5-inch heels.
Yeah, you are.
I'm wearing red overalls and nothing but red overalls and a bow tie.
No, you have pasties.
Oh yeah, pasties.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a bow tie. You got a bow tie.
I heard the bow tie. Don't worry.
Did y'all come Friday night?
Yes. No.
Okay, so I'm interested from you. What do you think of the production so far?
Honestly, On par with last year, I would say it's a little bit more better.
I would say I'm glad that they included superheroes this time.
What are the superheroes?
That's the last song in the show, but it's sometimes not in every cut.
Oh, okay. So obviously we've moved locations from before when we were in Merrick? No.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Because of the reservation by an advocates conference. What are how's y'all's reactions to that?
I think that's bullshit. Can I curse?
Yes.
I think that's bullshit.
We will censor it.
Yeah.
It's sad that I didn't get to see how it would have been in a bigger theater, and the fact that we're all packed in here waiting because slots are very, very limited this time. So it'd be cool if, like, maybe next year we could get to see it in a bigger theater, especially if the quality has gone up. That would have been really nice.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. It's really unfortunate because the crowd size has shrunk compared to last year.
Yeah, I noticed it's a smaller crowd like today.
I would say majority of these people have not come from last night.
Okay. Was it a bigger crowd last night?
A little bit more bigger, yeah. It was a little bit more bigger.
Do you think that it's just like a decline in popularity? Do you think that it's like people are concerned about the less seats?
I would say the less seats part.
Oh yeah, definitely, because a lot of people were like, well, I don't know when I'm gonna get there, I don't want to wait in line and be turned away, so...
I was hearing a lot of everybody was telling me to get here at 6.
Right.
So anybody who didn't would probably feel kind of weird about showing up.
What are you wearing?
I am dressed as our college president, Devereaux.
Help me get to know Devereaux better.
I studied music as an undergrad. And
no longer an undergrad?
No.
Oh.
Well, who knows? I'm Devereaux.
My PhD in
my PhD in and sexy.
None of this is going to be usable.
I know.
Here's something usable. I am the Very Hungry Caterpillar.
Okay.
Your very favorite children's book.
Describe your outfit.
I am very appropriately dressed as the Very Hungry Caterpillar. There are Very Hungry Caterpillar foods on my legs.
There's also fishnets on your legs.
I know, fishnets. I'm a caterpillar, not a fish. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is a serious question. So we've obviously had to move because of the Adventist conference happening in Merrick. What's your reaction to that?
I think that Goucher should be mindful of upholding traditions that Goucher has. And I think that this is a problem we have on this campus, is that people complain that we don't have enough traditions. But the campus and people on the campus are not doing enough to uphold those traditions.
I agree. I find it upsetting that they are prioritizing outside groups over student organizations and student-run events. I think it is against the idea of students building a community for themselves. I hope that in the future, Rocky gets to book their space way earlier. So that this type of thing doesn't happen. But it still is upsetting that that's kind of the compromise that needs to be made.
This is Taylor Rogers performing episode 4 of Old Charm City, guest starring Mia Montanari. This episode is titled House of Law. Hello, I'm Sage, and so on and so forth, whatever. I don't have much preamble today, just a story to tell. Let me think. Update on the boy with the knife. We haven't found him. He's still out there. The girl with the hoodie has started going back to school, still not taking off the hoodie. And that guy with the saxophone, Jacob or whatever, he left the city. That's not terribly important, though. Let's go straight into the story. There once was a man who lived in the lawless countryside. He lived a life of freedom, but also one of fear. One day, he decided that enlightenment is the true goal of any human, and so he took it upon himself to learn of law. The man prepared himself for a great journey. He gathered food, travel clothing, and his water bottle. He sent goodbye texts to his friends and turned on his security system. And when he was ready, he set off in search of the House of Law. The House of Law stands tall in the grand city of Baltimore. and any who approach may choose to educate themselves. The man made his way to this house and found an open glass door. Beside the door stood a grand gatekeeper, dressed in Kevlar and camo, gun in hand, waiting. The man approached the gatekeeper. "Good afternoon, gatekeeper. I have come to learn of the law. May I enter now?" The gatekeeper shook their head. "No, I'm afraid not. You are not permitted to enter at the moment." "You say at the moment," the man said. "Does this mean that it may be possible for me to enter at another time, perhaps on another day?" "It is certainly possible," said the gatekeeper, "but I make no promises." The gatekeeper gestured to a bench near the door. "You are welcome to wait, should you wish." The man did not wish, and he did not sit. Instead, he dared to look through the open door. He did not see far before the gatekeeper laughed and drew his attention. "What's so funny, gatekeeper? Why do you laugh at me? I only wish to see the beginnings of law." The gatekeeper shook their head. "Oh, it shouldn't be funny, but it is. You are welcome to try and run inside, but I must warn you, I am very, very powerful. The odds of you escaping are slim. And within is a room with another guardian, then another, then another. It goes on for some time, and each is more powerful than the last. I can barely stand to glimpse the third gatekeeper within." The man hadn't expected such troubles. He had thought that the journey to law would be difficult, but difficult in matters of thought and study, not in a fight or a race to escape the gatekeepers. So he sat down on the bench and waited. The next day, as the sun rose, the man looked to the gatekeeper. "Well," he said, "it is a new day. Am I permitted to enter the house of law?" "No, you are still not allowed to enter." The gatekeepers shook their heads sadly. "I wish you were, and I could rid myself of you, but it is simply not the case, and I cannot let you in when the time is not right." "Of course, I understand," said the man. "But why am I not permitted? I thought the law was supposed to be accessible to all and at any time. I thought I could come and be educated no matter the time or day. And the law is accessible, and you can. But I cannot let you in just yet. I do not know why this is the case, but it is." The man nodded, then looked to his bag. Within he carried his only valuables, including a chain of silver that had been gifted to him by his mother. The man retrieved the silver and held it out to the gatekeeper. "Here, take this, please, and let me in." The gatekeeper took the silver and placed it in his pocket. "I cannot let you in no matter how you try to bribe me, but I take your gift so you don't feel like you have failed to try every means at your disposal." At this the man was distraught, his most treasured belonging gone. And for what? Perhaps some small measure of gratitude from the unbudging gatekeeper? There was no point to this. And so the gatekeeper and the man waited together for a very long time. Every morning the man asked to be let in, and every morning the gatekeeper said no. Over time the man gave away all of his belongings to the gatekeeper in a desperate attempt to be allowed. The gatekeeper always responded with the same sentence: "I take your gift so you don't feel like you have failed to try every means at your disposal." The man asked many other questions while he waited. He asked why the gatekeeper was so committed to their job. He asked where the gatekeeper was from. He asked what the House of Law was like on the inside. The gatekeeper answered all of these questions with great patience, except for the last question, which they refused to discuss. Sometimes the gatekeeper asked the man questions about his life, but they always asked them with the tone of a very important official speaking with a flea. And every day the man asked for entry, and every day the gatekeeper refused. This man and the gatekeeper waited there for 80 years. The man was old, wrinkled, and on his deathbed, and the gatekeeper hadn't changed a bit. On his last day of life, the man was having a difficult time moving, speaking, and even thinking. But as his life faded away, he had a final thought. The man motioned for the gatekeeper to come closer. "Good God," said the gatekeeper, "you are insatiable. What do you want now?" "Just one more question," said the man, "just one more." The gatekeeper bent down, straining to hear the whisper of this dying man. "If everyone is allowed to seek out the law and enlighten themselves, then why haven't I seen a single other person attempt to come through this door?" The gatekeeper straightened. By now the old man was having a very difficult time hearing, and so the gatekeeper bellowed their response. "Nobody attempted to come through this door, because this door was meant for you and you alone, and now I am going to close it." Washed in confusion, the man closed his eyes and died. This is the first story that isn't really a fairy tale. I suppose you could call it a parable, but it has that same rhythm, I think, and it follows the same rules. This one is a Kafka short story, Before the Law, that he later repurposed for his book The Trial. Weird, right? 80 years passed during the story. It didn't actually start 80 years ago, meaning there was some kind of time distortion. After all, texting was invented much more recently than that. After some digging, Brianna managed to find the House of Law. It's a skyscraper in downtown Baltimore, It appears as a normal office building, but nobody enters or exits. When Brianna approached, she found a guard, much like the one that delayed the man in our story. This guard spoke in much the same way as the one in the story. They told Brianna she could not enter, and that even they were lowly compared to the power of the further guards. Brianna decided to force her way in and see what was there. With magic and sword, she fought her way past the first guard. They were indeed very powerful, and it was the most challenging fight she had been in years. Past the door was an empty room, with another open glass door and another guard identical to the first. Brianna tried to negotiate with him to gain further entrance, but they responded in the same way as the first, so Brianna crushed them. Brianna didn't bother to speak with the third guard, or the fourth, or the fifth, but at the end of the fifth fight, she was tired. She knew she could keep going, perhaps win a few more fights, but there was no telling how deep the house went. She wanted to see what was at the end, but maybe there wasn't an end anyways, and so she left. Brianna thought about destroying the building, but she knew that it would take too much power. Instead, she placed a magical quarantine over the building, turning it invisible and tucking it away only to be found down a series of twisting roads that make no sense whatsoever. Other than hiding away the building, there isn't too much to do in the way of containment. The man is dead, the gatekeeper's presumably in or near the building and now tucked away, and there wasn't anyone else in the story, except for the friends the man texted, but that's probably a dead end. Right now, Brianna is out investigating another story. She thinks there might be something Cinderella-related happening right now, so she's going to a ball. This might be the first time she can catch a story while it's happening. I'm not sure what that means or how it will turn out, but it could be a big step forward. I know she's hoping to resolve this soon. She has to leave the city next week, and she's worried about leaving it undefended, especially with the boy with the knife still on the loose and... Oh my god, Brianna! Are you okay? What's going on? Who did this to you?
The girl with the hoodie. Find her.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome all to the 4th installment of History and, a show where we talk about history and... Take it away, Mia.
And the beautiful places we all come from.
Of course, of course. The gimmick is that we fill in the blank after the and differently each episode, because history is just a big game of telephone where I say potato, you say potato, and some other guy 1,000 years from now says Solanum tuberosum, which is...
What?
The scientific name for potatoes.
Is it?
Are you impressed that I know
Yeah.
this? Are you so impressed?
Impressed. Yeah, good job.
When we talk about history, there is always an and. My name is Olivia de Sena. I'm a big weird history and fun facts nerd.
And I'm Mia, and I sometimes am here and sometimes I'm not.
Every installment, Mia and I will be your hosts, talking to you about weird and wacky history. I have researched the topic beforehand. Mia has not. Today we're talking about history, and today we're celebrating Aviation History Month in a special way by talking about one of the world's best and most well-known aviators. You know her. You love her. You may or may not believe she was abducted by aliens. Amelia Earhart.
Oh my gosh, it's Amelia Earhart.
Amelia Earhart. We've only got about 15 minutes, so buckle up, y'all, as we go for a wild ride down the rabbit hole of history. And this is actually a topic Mia knows some about. Mia, at the risk of ending the episode here, because it'll turn out that you know more than me, though I guess we could just switch, roles at that point.
I won't.
Could you tell us a little bit about Amelia Earhart?
She was a lady and she flew a plane.
Oh my god.
Didn't she fly it around the world?
Oh.
She flew it across the Atlantic or something? The Atlantic?
Yeah, that one.
She crashed and then she went missing. And she was just a flying lady, you know?
She was just a flying lady. Indeed, this is that was the whole episode. Now it's your turn to host it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We're talking about Amelia Earhart. I feel like Amelia Earhart was my first taste of feminism.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's for lack of a better word. She was one of the first people we talked about in grade school where the emphasis of her gender was emphasized.
Yeah.
As a young girl, I was supposed to be inspired by her, and I was. I had a big obsession with those pilot hats for a while after that. A reminder that this show is called History and. We haven't really been taking advantage of the and to the extent that we might do today, talking about both Amelia's history and what her very presence contributed to feminist thought within her time and within ours. But let's start with the history. Let's start with that. To give those who don't know about Earhart a little bit of context, just a smidge. Amelia Mary Earhart was born July 24th, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, to Amy Otis Earhart and Edwin Stanton Earhart. Followed in 1899 by her little baby sister, Muriel. Yeah. When I think of Earhart, I always forget that she was an 1800s girly.
Yeah.
I know she spent like the majority of her life in the 1900s, but just her being born in a year with the number 18 in front of it just weirds me out.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right.
I don't think that's real.
Yeah, nope. We'll just choose to ignore it. Her family moved around a lot from Kansas to Iowa to Minnesota to Illinois. When little Earhart was 10 years old, she saw her first plane visiting a state fair in Iowa. She remembers seeing, quote, a thing of rusty wire and wood that looked, quote, nothing at all interesting.
Oh,
End
well,
quote.
of course.
It's funny because she says that even though people were trying to stress how amazing it was that this hunk of rusty wire and wood could fly, Earhart is apparently just sitting in the corner having fun with a little hat that she just bought that she thought was infinitely more entertaining. Mm-hmm.
You know what? Yeah, me too.
Little hats. Little hats all around. Mia!
Yes!
A question has bounced. Oh. Before Amelia Earhart became known for her heart in the air, she had another job. What was that job?
Oh.
Was it A, she was a pig farmer?
Ooh.
B, she was a war nurse? Or C, she held an apprenticeship for a famous hatter?
I think she had, because her whole thing is that she had that hat.
She had that hat.
You know that pilot hat? That's like, when I think of her, it's that hat, and I feel like, so she had to be like some sort of hatstress.
It's true, and she actually started that. No, it's not. I just lied straight to your face.
Wow. Did you see me? I really got excited about that.
No, during World War I, she left college to work at a Canadian military hospital. That's right, before Earhart was the famous aviator she's known as today, she was a war nurse. It was here that she started meeting aviators and becoming intrigued with the notion of flying. She took her first plane ride after the war in 1920, and it was kismet. She began flying lessons right away with a female aviator named Netta Snook. Amazing name.
These are all great names.
Fantastic names. I mean, we aren't really acknowledging Amelia
Earhart is such a good name.
Is such a good name. You would think it was like a stage name, but it was her real family name.
I love it so much.
I wonder if it influenced her at all. She was like, you know what?
You know what? It's in the name.
It's like the people who have the last name Plummer. It's like, what are you gonna do?
You gotta.
She bought her first plane at 25 as a birthday gift to herself, and in 1922, she set the woman's altitude record of 14,000 feet. She moved to Massachusetts and started flying in air shows. People were attracted to her clear passion for the skies.
Yes.
It wasn't just your everyday man who put two and two together and realized Earhart was meant for flight. Pilot Charles Lindbergh had just completed the world's first transatlantic flight, and publisher George Putnam, a publisher hoping to duplicate the man's success and massive media attention, had his own opportunity. A socialite named Amy Phipps Guest. She bought a small passenger plane with the hopes of becoming the first woman to be flown across the Atlantic. However, she wasn't a pilot, and so her parents refused to let her take such a risky journey. So, Guest turned to Putnam, requesting that he find, quote, the right sort of girl, end quote, to make the trip in Guest's stead. Putnam chose Amelia Earhart because he had known she had a passion for flying, and because apparently she physically looked like Lindbergh, and that's why he was like,
yeah, of course.
You know what? You look like this dude who flew across the world. You want to be the first lady that flew across the world?
Yes.
He fed the press the nickname Lady Lindy that would become widespread. Thankfully, we don't know her as Lady Lindy today.
I'm glad we don't know her as Lady Lindy.
Yeah,
That's
I feel
horrible.
like that would be a disservice. I don't know. I don't know about you, but if I was Amy Guest and I saw the fame that Amelia would receive after everything, I'd be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
My parents didn't let me on.
And then that could have been me.
That could have been
upset.
me.
I would have been upset.
Speaking of, I think at this point it's important to note that we've mentioned two women who were unknown backers to Amelia's success, neither with half as much notoriety. It's important to acknowledge that Earhart was a prolific and daring pilot. She had a true obsession with flight that might have rivaled Da Vinci's or Icarus, but she was a passenger in her transatlantic flight, the one she was so well known for. She did no actual flying, a fact she resented as it made her feel like, quote, just baggage, a sack of potatoes, end quote. Which means that we could just as easily be lauding Amy Guest's name today, because she didn't need to do flying.
Yeah.
There is something strange that is commonly done with women who accomplish amazing feats in an undoubtable way. They were in the spotlight, so they can't be stripped of the credit, so something else happens. They're treated like an outlier to their sex. As the well-known feminist Knuckles from Sonic the Hedgehog says,
oh yeah, my favorite.
Quote, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender roles, it ultimately undermines the concept of gender equality by implying that this is an exception exception and not the status quo.
Yes.
End quote.
Was this Sonic Boom?
This was Sonic Boom.
Yes, I know Sonic Boom.
One of my
like
favorite
that.
feminist quotes. Unironically. Amelia was a good flyer, but there were other good, if not better, female aviators at the time. Louise Thadden, for instance, set new records for women's speed, altitude, and solo endurance flying in 1929, and remains the only pilot to hold all three records at the same time.
Wow.
Another pioneer, Ruth Nichols, set women's flight records for speed, altitude, and distance 2 years later. As young women hearing of Amelia Earhart's accomplishments, presented as the sole female accomplishment of the time, we developed this idea that great women live as the exception.
Yes. Knuckles was so right when he said that.
Knuckles was so right, yeah. Earhart's accomplishments should not be understated. 4 years after her first potato sack journey, she decided to make the flight herself alone, becoming the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic as a pilot.
Yes.
She had years of performative flying experience, and she encouraged other women to fly. She used her notoriety to finance her subsequent record-breaking flights in speed and distance. Her awards including the American Distinguished Flying Cross and the Cross of the French Legion of Honor. In 1929, Earhart helped found the 99s, an organization of female aviators. In 1928, Earhart became the first ever aviation editor of the Cosmopolitan magazine. She wrote 16 articles for the magazine, several of which discussed the role of women in aviation. She wondered, why are women afraid to fly? And addressed reluctant parents in Shall You Let Your Daughters Fly? In 1933, after her famed solo Atlantic flight, she even wrote a letter that you can still read today to a 13-year-old female reader who wanted to become a pilot. Earhart told the young reader about the steps she might have to take to achieve her dream and offered some encouraging words. Quote, "As far as women's opportunities in flying go, I think they will improve as they have in all industries," she wrote. End quote. Returning to Amelia's personal life and history. Mia, another question!
Whoa!
Mia!
Yes, I have an answer, maybe.
Amelia Earhart went on to marry someone. A familiar name from our story.
From our story?
Can you guess who that was? Was it A. Charles Lindbergh, the first person to complete a transatlantic flight?
Mm-hmm.
B. George Putnam, the publisher who got her the opportunity for her own flight? Or was it C. Amy Guest, the socialite who funded the journey?
Was it Mary Shelley?
It was Mary
C.
Shelley.
Mary Shelley.
D.
D. Mary Shelley. It was, you know what? I think it was the writer.
The writer?
I feel like she was
George
kind
Putnam?
of with that. Yeah.
It was George
Oh,
Putnam.
yeah.
Putnam remained her promoter, publishing her 2 books, 20 Hours, 40 Minutes, in 1928, and The Fun of It, in 1932. Earhart married Putnam in 1931, though she retained her maiden name and considered the marriage an equal partnership. Go George.
Yes.
He was her publisher, so he must have known the greatness in store for her, so it's impressive of him to keep his name out of it.
Yeah.
Then again, he was her publisher, so it wasn't like he wasn't getting his own notoriety. On June 1st, 1937, Amelia left Miami with navigator Fred Noonan, seeking to become the first woman to fly around the world. Earhart planned to court publicity along the route to increase interest in a planned book about the expedition.
Mm-hmm.
Amelia Earhart, coming to a city near you.
Oh.
The original plan was for the flight to have a 2-person crew. Earhart would fly with a navigator named Harry Manning. However, during a flight across the U.S. that included Earhart, Manning, and Putnam, Manning did a navigation fix that alarmed Putnam, because Manning made a minor navigational error that put them in the wrong state. They were flying close to the state line, but Putnam was still concerned. Sometime later, Putnam arranged a night flight to test Manning's navigational skill. Under poor navigational conditions, Manning's position was off by 20 miles. Other members of Earhart's team considered Manning's performance reasonable because it was within an acceptable error of 30 miles, but Putnam wanted a better navigator, because, you know, it was his wife.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't argue with that.
Very fair. Through contacts in the Los Angeles aviation community, Fred Noonan was chosen as a second navigator because he was a licensed ship captain, experienced in both marine and flight navigation. On March 17th, 1937, Earhart and her crew set out on the first leg of her round-the-world flight. But they abandoned this attempt after a non-fatal crash that damaged the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Then they tried again, but never left the airway as the forward landing gear collapsed, both propellers hit the ground, and the plane skidded on its belly.
It was a sign. It was a sign.
Yeah, but you know, third time's the charm, right?
You're so right, Olivia.
Of course.
I don't know why I'd ever doubt you.
In preparation for the trip, the U.S. Coast Guard prepared additional communication and navigational support for the flight. They loved Earhart, gotta say. They would communicate with Earhart's aircraft via radio, transmit a homing signal to help the aviators locate their checkpoints, use radio direction finding,
singing, and used the checkpoint officer's boilers to create a dark column of smoke that could be seen over the horizon, since Amelia was so fond of visual landmarks.
Of course.
Unfortunately, as we would come to find out, all of the navigation methods would fail to guide Amelia Earhart across the globe. With 7,000 miles remaining on her trip, Earhart reported her altitude as 10,000 feet, but that she would reduce altitude due to some thick clouds. Around 5 p.m., Earhart reported her altitude as 7,000 feet. The team keeping contact with Earhart aboard the ship Ithaca received strong, clear voice transmissions from Earhart, but she was unable to hear voice transmissions from the team. The first calls received from Earhart were routine reports stating the weather was cloudy and overcast at 2:45 a.m. And just before 5 a.m. on July 2nd, these calls were broken up by static. At 6:14 a.m., another call was received stating that the aircraft was within 200 miles of the ship, requesting that the ship use its direction finder to provide a bearing for the aircraft. Earhart began whistling into the microphone to provide a continuous signal for the ship's crew to use. At this point, the radio operators on the ship realized they could not tune into the aircraft signal. Radio man Leo Bellarts later commented that he, quote, was sitting there sweating blood because I couldn't do a darn thing about it, end quote.
Whoa, he was sweating blood.
At 7:30 a.m., the aircraft had only a half hour of fuel remaining. In her transmission at 7:58 a.m., Earhart said she could not hear the ship and asked them to send voice signals so she could try to take a radio bearing. The ship reported this signal as the loudest possible signal, indicating that Earhart and Noonan were in the immediate area. The ship could not send voice at the frequency she asked for, so they sent Morse code signals instead. Earhart acknowledged receiving these, but said she was unable to determine their direction. A series of misunderstandings, errors, or mechanical failures are likely to have occurred on the final approach. The problems with RDF and navigation, the ship and Earhart planning their communication schedule using time systems set half-hour apart, and sources have noted Earhart's apparent lack of familiarity with her direction-finding system, which had been fitted to the aircraft just prior to the flight. The plane simply vanished. Though the government conducted a massive search, the most expensive of its kind at the time, no trace of them or their plane was ever found. This, of course, led many people to theorize that she had actually survived. In July 2017, a mysterious photo was discovered appearing to show Earhart and Noonan on the Japanese-controlled island of Saipan. That seemed to prove those theories true. However, the photo has no date, and its legitimacy has been seriously questioned.
Yeah.
Just like the other conspiracy theories still floating around about Amelia Earhart's disappearance. Now, this is all familiar to us, right? We know Amelia Earhart was a famous aviator. We know that she went missing.
Yeah.
But you know what a lot of us probably don't know?
What do we not know, Olivia?
Well, on the evening of July 2nd, 1937, the U.S. Navy sent out an all-ship, all-stations bulletin, alerting everyone to pay close attention to her frequencies in the hope of catching a potential signal from Earhart. They listened, and calls piled in, claiming to have received transmission from Earhart. Pretty much all were deemed hoaxes, and Amelia Earhart and her co-pilot were declared dead. Except, of the 100 distress calls, 57 were later deemed credible. The world's most famous missing woman was not missing. She was pretty much just ignored.
Oh my god.
What the heck, man?
First, 2 naval stations in Hawaii heard what they believed to be Earhart's voice, but could not make out the words. Later that same day, a clearer message was received by a more unlikely source. Mabel Larimore in Amarillo, Texas, was scanning through her home radio when she heard Earhart call out, quote, "Plane down on an uncharted island, small, uninhabited," end quote. Another message was received the next day on July 3rd by Nina Paxton in Ashland, Kentucky, who picked up several phrases from Earhart, including, quote, "down in ocean," end quote. Quote, "our plane about out of gas, water all around very dark," end quote. Quote, "we'll have to get out of here," end quote. And, quote, "we can't stay here long," end quote.
These are so ominous. I guess she was on an island alone with no... Oh.
Finally, the last credible reception received from Earhart occurred on July 7th, when Thelma Lovelace of St. John's, New Brunswick, heard, quote, "Can you read me? Can you read me? This is Amelia Earhart. This is Amelia Earhart. Please come in," end quote. Earhart continued her message saying, quote, "We have taken in water. My navigator is badly hurt. We are in need of medical care and must have help. We can't hold on much longer," end quote. And then there was silence.
What? Wait, so people were hearing her be
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I'm trapped and I'm dying and I need help," and we were just like, where could she be?
It's the classic, I miss Amelia so much. I'm right here. Sometimes I can still hear
people
her
I'm
voice.
dead. Like,
yeah, they were just generally incompetent.
Wow.
They found bones like years later on an island, Gardner Island, and they were like, "This is Amelia. It's got to be Amelia." But then some jerk was like, "Nah, these bones, they look like a man. You know, a really short man with a weird pelvis, but it's a man."
What the heck, man?
So yeah, there's a lot of evidence that they survived for weeks and then were eaten by crabs.
That's so horrible.
Yeah, what a frustrating
That's so
episode.
horrible.
If anyone can hear us, I hope you acknowledge our existence more than Earhart's.
Wow, that's actually so horrible. That's so horrible. Wait, what the heck?
Yeah. Anyway, thank you to Olivia Barnes for putting the radio in this episode together, and to Raspa for editing help, and to Mia Montanari for being my co-host.
What kind of tales are you telling me,
If
Olivia?
you'd like to learn more about this topic or fact-check my very amateur historical accounts, check out more about Amelia Earhart. Check out the book Last Flight and the National Women's History website about her, and YouTube's BuzzFeed Unsolved video on the subject. This was History and... Tune in again to see what comes after the and next.
At the time of publication for this episode, Friday will be the Let's Talk About Sex event. We have brought in two folks into the studio today to talk about the event so you can know what to expect and sort of the vibe about what's happening. Why don't you all introduce yourselves with your name and what you do for the Student Health Center?
Hi, I'm Zen Evans. We both work at the Wellness Center.
I thought it said on your sign when I walked in, it said...
Health and Wellness.
We're partners.
We're partners, we're friends.
Oh, wait, so they're two different departments?
Technically, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But they're both run by Vanessa,
Mm-hmm.
so technically also the same.
But the Let's Talk About Sex is from Wellness.
Yes.
I'm Sarah Geithner. I am also a peer ed with the Wellness Center.
All right, so for anyone who hasn't been to Let's Talk About Sex, either their first year at Goucher or they just haven't gone, what is it? What can we expect?
So it's going to be a place where people can learn about love, sex, and relationships with no judgment, and a place for people to be able to feel comfortable to ask some questions that maybe they wouldn't in other situations. We're also going to have opportunities where people can get their questions answered anonymously. We're going to have a local sexpert from Planned Parenthood come and answer some questions, and so that people can kind of hear what they need to hear without kind of maybe this is an awkward question. I don't really want to talk to someone face-to-face about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a lot of different outside people coming in for this event. So we have Planned Parenthood having a booth. Different Goucher organizations, groups are coming in to also do booths. So it's not just Wellness Center this year. We're really expanding it. So it's going to be fun. We have a lot of information, and not just information, fun, interactive booths.
So if I'm remembering correctly, Planned Parenthood is a new addition to the Let's Talk About Sex, because Let's Talk About Sex has been going on for a while now. What other, if you can say, are there any new things for returners to expect, to be excited for?
We're going to have a big Kahoot.
Okay.
And a golden condom scavenger hunt.
With prizes.
With prizes.
Yes.
Well, that is, I know that the sweepstakes in the past has been sort of the talked about event, the thing that everyone vies for. Everyone vies for a specific prize. Is that making a return? Is that being relived through the golden condom?
Yeah, so this year we're kind of putting focus on winning prizes by interacting, rather than just, putting your name on a raffle ticket and then being called in later. So we want to encourage that interaction among people and the groups that we have tabling. But there'll be all sorts of, raffles, prizes throughout. So rather than having the one big prize that everyone wants, we're going to have a bunch of different prizes, and we're going to have a lot of free giveaways.
Wow.
And we will still have the raffles. We're just adding on to it. So there's a lot of bonus ones this year.
That's really exciting. Oh, you've got these new partnerships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar to what was the process for making that happen? How is what's the relationship there?
So our new boss, Vanessa, has a lot of really great connections. She used to work with Planned Parenthood. So she has connections there, and she's made connections with Star Trek, who gives the free STI, STD testing with the health center. We've also got Firm Life Care, which is a gender-affirming kind of clinic, give people resources on that front. So really in her position, she's doing a lot of like outreach to different groups that, because last year kind of our leadership was a little bit messed up because our lovely boss Kirsten was being pulled so many different places. Now we have someone whose job is like designated reaching out to other people and giving the peer eds kind of the direct support and structure.
One last thing for our listeners before they know. There's two things. You've talked about how there's an opportunity for people to ask questions. How, if I were a listener, would I ask a question? Like, how would I submit that?
There are flyers all around campus. Literally everywhere you look, there should be a Let's Talk About Sex flyer with either a QR code or a number. They're both anonymous, completely confidential. So if you want to ask questions there, you can type them in. No one will know who sent it. They may be answered. Depends on how many we get.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them will be answered. Yeah.
We want so many questions, though.
Have you gotten a whole lot so far?
We need more.
Always.
We always need more questions. Yes. Additionally, we're doing tabling in Mary Fisher lobby from 11 to 2 almost every day. People can come, scan the QR code, ask the questions, and they can get a free snack.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, we're going to have a drop box at the event where if people think of any on the fly, they can just stick their questions right in there. And the first 100 people to show up for the event get free Goucher blankets.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of the event, where and when is it?
The Athenaeum, the Hyman Forum.
That's the big area.
Yeah, with the screen, the stairs. 1 to 4 p.m.
Okay. Right next to the radio station.
Yeah.
Yes. Friday, November 21st.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, both of you, for coming on. If you have any final words, we'll take them. But besides that, I think that's going to be it for now.
Big plug, main event. We're raffling away sex toys. Yes.
Yay!
That's the main
Are
exciting portion.
any clues about specifics?
Can we give them?
Sure.
There's a couple returners, a couple new items. Should I name drop the sex toys?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got the rose toy. We got a monster dildo.
Wow.
Yes. And then a lot more. But those are the two.
Oh, no, that's all we get?
That's all I can think of off the top of my head right now.
The rest is a secret, and you're going to have to come to Let's Talk About Sex to see.
Show up and join the raffle.
Yeah, the only way to find out more is to show up on Friday. You said it was
1 to 4 p.m.
From 1 to 4 in the Hyman Forum. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome to the Goucher History segment, where we pick apart Goucher history and discuss the ramifications for the time and how it is still impacting us today. I promised you something special last episode. Today, we're taking it back to the Halloween theme. No, we're a little bit late. But for the spooky theme, we're talking about the ghosts and other people who are still haunting our campus today.
All right, great. That's fantastic. Sounds like fun. So my name is Michael Curry. I'm a professor here at Goucher, and I've been a professor here for 38 years. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the ghosts and the bodies buried. And Max, why don't you introduce yourself too?
I'm Max Ravnitzky, a current student, always interested in the history of the college and the ghouls and ghosts of Goucher College.
Yeah, we just finished the Halloween season, and so we're our thoughts are on ghosts and dead bodies, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, let's start with the bodies on our campus.
Okay. Well, so I'm going to go in historic chronological order, okay? So the first president to be buried on campus, it's not actually buried, right? It's not interred, but immured, meaning that the person's cremains are put in a wall, right? So it's not buried. So the first president is William Guth, who was president here from 1913 to 1929. He and his wife are both immured in the wall when you drive onto campus from Delaney Valley Road.
The Guth Gateway?
The Guth Gateway, yeah. So if you drive in and you stop your car or you walk in and you turn to the right side of the wall and you look on the back of the wall, you'll see a plaque that says that's in honor or commemorates William Guth and his wife. Now, why are they important? Well, it was William Guth who actually bought this land in Towson. He bought this huge amount of acreage out here in Towson while the college was still located downtown at 23rd and St. Paul. And it took many years for the college to finally move up here. But he was the one who purchased the land. And so we have him to thank for that.
It was 421 acres.
Yeah.
And with the 421 program where they tried to have every student and alumni and other community member get or give $421.
Yeah, that is a very important part of the whole history there. And they did it, so that was very cool.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So then our next president who's immured on campus is Otto Kraushaar, Kraushaar is the way it's pronounced. I was corrected. Otto Kraushaar, which, by the way, means curly hair. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not.
That's a small bit of trivia, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very fun.
Yeah. So anyway, he was president here between 1948 and 1967, and his remains are in the wall, the low wall in front of the Meyerhoff Arts Center.
That's in the center of the academic quad.
It is in the center of the academic quad, and it's easy to overlook because it's a very low wall and students sit on it and have lunch and stuff like that. But if you'll notice, there's a plaque in the front of the wall that says, it reads, if you would see his monument, look around you, meaning that Otto Kraushaar in many ways had the most influence on the current look of the campus, right? He sort of chose the Butler stone, that wonderful stone that's on the face of all the buildings, and he organized many of the buildings and stuff like that. And he also had a great deal of impact on, I would say, the curriculum and kind of the spirit of Goucher leading from the 60s on. And he was the first president, by the way, to integrate the campus and to allow students of color to come here. And so he was a great man. He was a very great man. And when I first started here, which, as you know, was a long time ago, many of the older faculty just revered him and looked up to him and thought of him as a pivotal figure in Goucher's history.
And his unpublished memoir, which is 90-some odd pages long, is in the archives, and it's a fascinating read.
Oh, that's great to know, and I encourage people to read that.
I think I'm only one of 4 people who've ever read it in full.
Wow. I'm always impressed by how much you have read, Max. I am. Great. So, and then the last president who is immured on campus is Rhoda Dorsey, who was the president from 1974 to 1994. I think she is the longest serving president. And she was quite a wonderful woman. She was the president who hired me, as a matter of fact, when I first started here in 1986, 87, that school year. And she was, by the way, pivotal to the college history because she was the one against everybody's, a lot of resistance. She was the one who said, we have to go co-ed. And that was hugely brave, and I imagine not an easy decision for her to make, having been herself a graduate of Smith College, a women's college in Massachusetts, and a firm believer in educating women, in providing higher education for women. I think it must have been a very difficult choice for her to make, but an essential one, and really had a lot to do with the survival of the college, I think, in the remaining several years. I always thought she was very stern. That was my impression when I was a junior faculty member. And I was a little afraid of her, as many people were. But I have to say, she was super nice and super generous to me. And then when she retired, I got to know her personally a little bit more. man, you could not have met a sweeter, more refined, intelligent, elegant woman. She was just quite wonderful. Anyway, so yeah. So who are the ghosts on campus? Well, we mentioned Otto Kraushaar, that he is immured in the wall, the short wall in front of the Meyerhoff Art Center, but he is also one of the ghosts who has been spotted.
Ooh.
Yes. And he hasn't been spotted recently, I believe, but he used to be. When the library was located in the Julia Rogers building in the basement, in the archives, in the basement of Julia Rogers before it was renovated, there was an archivist who would spend her whole day down in the enclosed basement, and she claimed that occasionally she would see Otto Kraushaar's ghostly figure over by his chair where they kept his walking stick and his hat.
Ooh.
Now, when they did the renovation to Julia Rogers, right, they did discover a great deal of mold in the walls.
Ooh.
And that may have contributed to her seeing things now and then. I don't know for sure. I don't know, but it's possible. Anyway, so the other ghost who has been spotted was the ghost of Mildred Dunnick. Now, and the Mildred Dunnick Theater that is in the Meyerhoff Art Center was named for her. Mildred Dunnick was graduated in, I think it was in the 40s from Goucher, then moved back to her home in Connecticut. But she had always had a bug and wanted to be an actor, right? So in her 30s, she moved to New York, started taking classes in New York City, was like classmates with people who like Marlon Brando.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And one of the earliest method actors in the United States. So she went on to have an important stage career. The play Death of a Salesman, when it premiered in 1948 on Broadway, she was the original Linda, the mother in the play. Of course, everybody's read that or has heard of it. And,
I haven't.
Okay.
I'm sad to admit.
Well, you've read Otto Kraushaar's biography, so that's pretty good. Anyway, over the years, theater students have claimed to have seen a petite ghostly figure in the tech booth, the booth where the lighting and the sound is run. Mildred Dunnick was very small. She was like 4'11", but she was kind of a powerful character.
I imagine.
But they have claimed to have seen Mildred Dunnick's ghost. Well, of course, if you've ever been through a tech week in the theater, you know that you spend a lot of hours in the same dark room. After a while, you might start seeing things anyway, right? But at any rate, as a result of having these spottings or these sightings, it has become a custom for the stage manager of every production to be the last one out of the theater and to say, "Good night, Miss Dunnick," before closing the door.
That's amazing.
Yes, and that has been a tradition for close to 30 years, I think. And the last ghost spotted that we can talk about, or that I know that much about, was one of the Ridgely families. Now, you know, and many people know, that right across the Beltway to the north of our campus is the Ridgely Estate, which was historically the largest single-family home in North America in the 1700s.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But anyway, so the Ridgely family is enormously wealthy, and this campus was part of that estate. Anyway, one of the Ridgeleys was fond of riding horseback toward the end of the day at twilight. And the story is that this Ridgely was riding across what is now the Goucher campus, fell off his horse, broke his neck, and died. And so some people have claimed to have seen a ghostly figure riding across where our stables are now. And that was a ghost story I had find incredible, but it was a kind of legend, it felt like a Sleepy Hollow kind of legend.
Yeah.
But I was giving a tour one year, and I was talking about the ghosts and stuff like that, and somebody came up to me at the end of the tour and said, "Yeah, the Ridgely ghost story is true." I said, "Well, How do you know that?" She says, "Well, I never was a student here, But my mother was a student here, and one night she was coming out of the theater, the Barn Theater. This predates my being here. This was before the SRC was even built. That's where the barn used to be.
Yeah.
She said, my mother was coming out of the Barn Theater after a play and saw a ghostly figure riding by on a horse. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was confirmation that story had some backup.
As much confirmation as you're going to get.
I guess, So anyway, 3 ghosts, 3 bodies on the campus.
4 bodies on Miskuth.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, of course, right? We should not forget William Guth's wife. So anyway, I hope those were pretty good stories for a Halloween season. What do you think?
I think they're incredible.
Fantastic. Max, thank you so much for inviting me to tell those stories and also to having so much background information of your own. And once again, hats off to one of the 4 people who's ever read.
I don't know if it's 4, but I think it's definitely single digits.
It's single digits. Well, and now I have my homework for one of these days. All right. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Please stay tuned for our next episode next week, which should be something interesting.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
We've got a few events for you for the weeks of November 17th and 24th. The Wellness Center presents Let's Talk About Sex, Uncover the Mystery on November 21st at 1 to 4 p.m., where a local sexpert will answer your burning questions about sex, love, and relationships. If you haven't submitted questions yet, do so now by scanning the code on any of the Let's Talk About Sex posters or by texting 443-290-7547. Everyone is welcome, even if you don't want to talk about sex. There will be tabling from different groups from both on and off campus, including SGA with the Aunt Flo program, Affirm Care LifeBridge with gender-affirming care services, and Planned Parenthood with local sexual health services. They will be giving out Goucher blankets to the first 100 people to sign in and will have handouts, giveaways, and raffles throughout the event. Be there or be square. Scales, Feathers, and Fur, Creatures and Critters in the Goucher Museum Collection opening reception is on November 17th on the 4th floor of the Athenaeum on the wall near Pinkard Room. This exhibition features animal-related artifacts from around the world and explores aspects of humanity's relationship to the animal kingdom. Fat Sparrow pins will be handed out while supplies last. Design and 3D print your own cookie cutters with the Makerspace on November 18th at 2 p.m. The DIY Fashion Club presents Paint a Patch on November 18th at 4 p.m. in Mary Fisher Lobby. Late Nights with Cree presents Yarn and Chill at 6 p.m. on November 19th in the Cree office. Join WHAM faculty on November 20th at 4:45 for their annual Potluck Whamsgiving at Duncock Theatre. Make turkeygrams with Set at 5 p.m. in the Mary Fisher Lobby on November 20th. On November 21st, the Studio Art Department is offering a free papermaking workshop from 10 to 2 p.m. in Meyerhoff. Then make your way over to the Ath for Let's Talk About Sex from 1 to 4 p.m. brought to you by the Wellness Center. Also on November 21st, at 6 p.m. in Trustees Common Room, GASA is hosting the African Roundtable, a space where Africans of all colors from all regions can come together and share their experience so far at Goucher. On November 22nd is an Uno Extravaganza, hosted by Board Game Club at 2 p.m. in Pinkard Room. And finally, support Pizzazz at Five Nights at Freddy's the Musical at Merrick Hall. Cast 1 performs at 7 on the 22nd and 7:15 on the 23rd. Cast 2 performs at 8:15 on the 22nd and 6 p.m. on the 23rd. On October 28th, men's soccer won 1-0 against Susquehanna. On October 29th, women's volleyball won 3-0 against Cheney. And on November 11th, women's basketball won 55-49 against Regent. Here are some upcoming sports events on campus. November 19th at 6 p.m., men's basketball versus Catholic. On November 25th at 6 p.m., men's basketball versus Ursinus. And that's all for announcements.
The preceding segment was Rowdy Radio, presented by the Goucher Radio Station and in partnership with the Quindecim. This program features the voices and work of Kate Miller, Quin Bolster, Taylor Rogers, Olivia de Sena with Mia Montanari, Max Ravnitzky with Michael Curry, and Zen Evans. Our music is by Charlie Berziner, Emma Chase, Ethan Hadding, Zev Israel, and Willa Mayer. This episode was produced by Joshua Haynes and myself. This episode was edited by Raleigh and Raspa and by Elowyn Ingler. This station manager of Rowdy Radio is Riley Ann Raspa. Our treasurer is Max Ravnitzky. Our graphic designer is Natalie Selden. Special thanks to Sarah Yeitner I'm Olivia Barnes, your host and the production director over here at Rowdy Radio. Next time you hear from us, everyone, it will be final season, so don't forget to study.